Before I get started, I just wanted to shout out a member of the community named Trollit. He took the console that I created a few years ago that I'm going to be continuing today and actually continued it for himself for one of his projects, and he put a lot of nice features into it that people were always asking for. So if you want to take a look at his GitHub repository, I highly recommend to do so, as there are a lot of nice features that he's implemented. That being said, if you just want to continue with the series, that's fine too. However, I thought it would be a good thing to shout this member of the community out, as they did reach out to me personally and was asking for my opinion and whatnot. So thank you, Trollit, for continuing this while I was away from YouTube. It's really good work, and I really appreciate it, as well as the community. So let's go ahead and begin part 3. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at getting started with some arguments in our commands. So let's go ahead and create a new folder. We're going to call that resources. This is so I can load a prefab from code. Let's just create a cube, drag it down to our resources so it creates a prefab, delete it from the scene, create a new C# script, call it command cube, and then we're going to go ahead and open up Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio, depending what you're using. So what this command cube is going to do is basically instantiate a cube at the given coordinates. This is how I'm going to pass in arguments. I'm actually going to be using the arguments as the X, Y, and Z coordinates. So first I'm going to add using system.link to the top of my developer console CS file. In my public abstract void run command, I'm going to add a string array of args. Now inside of my parse input function, I'm going to split my input by the space character, as I'm going to separate my arguments in my command out by spaces. I'm going to get rid of this run command here at the bottom. And first, I'm going to create a list to leverage link, or a lit because I can't spell. And I'm going to make a list string of args equal to the input.toList, the toList function coming from my link library. Next, I'm going to remove the first index, which in this case, the first index of my list is going to be the command cube. So I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of that from my list that I've created. And then finally, I'm going to run the command, and I'm going to pass in the arguments in the end. So let's do our commands using the key of our input 0. And we're going to go .run command, and then we're going to pass in our args. Now, since our args are in list form, we're going to have to go ahead and convert that back to an array, but the link library allows us to do that very quickly. Next, in my command quit, I'm going to pass in my arguments, even though it doesn't use any. That's okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and copy this entire class, and I'm going to use it as the base for my command cube class. I'm going to replace everything with what I've copied, and I'm going to change all occurrences of command quit to command cube. Then I'm going to change the name, command, description, and help functions. I don't have the description and help being leveraged yet. That'll come into a later video. Inside of the help function, I'm just going to explain the options though. So when I do add the help, function to the developer console, that this will be ready to go. And how I'm going to do that is I'm just basically going to say -x is equal to a value, where the value is the x position of the cube we want to instantiate. I'm just going to be using integers for now to keep the arguments clean and simple. I'm going to copy it 3 times and just change the x to y and z. Now inside of my run command function, I'm going to get rid of what was in there before for the quit command, and I'm going to show you how to parse these arguments. So first, I'm going to initiate 3 variables, x, y, and z, and I'm going to put them all to 0. The reason that I'm putting them all to 0 for is that if you don't pass in all 3 of them, it will default whichever ones you don't declare to 0. Next, I'm going to input a for loop here, and I'm going to make the I less than my args.length. And remember, this is in JavaScript, so make sure there's a capital L on that length. Then I'm going to declare a string argument and just make that equal to my args array at the current index. Once we've done that, I'm then going to split the argument. Now, before I do that, I'm going to include our system.text.regular expressions, because I'm going to be using a regex split on this one, just so I can clearly define what I want to split on. I don't want there to be any mistakes. And I'm going to split these on a regex.split. I'm going to pass in my argument, and then I'm going to signify that I'm using regex with the @ symbol. And then inside of some quotes, I'm going to do a \= The \= means that this is a literal character in regex. Now that these are split, I'm basically going to have to find out which variable I'm passing in. So I can just do that with a switch case. And my three cases can be -x, -y, and -z. And my cases are -x, -y, and -z because when I split the regex, or when I split the string, it doesn't get rid of the dashes that I passed in. So you have to account for that. Now I'm going to create my -x case first, and then I'm going to copy and paste it 2 more times and just change the x to y and z. And I'm going to int.parse my second element of my argsplit array, and that's going to be the actual value that I'm instantiating. Now I'm going to load my prefab by making a new game object called prefab. I'm going to make that equal to casting a game object to resources.load, and I'm just going to type in cube with a capital C, as that's what I have it named inside of the Unity editor. And then to instantiate, I'm going to make another game object, call it cube, and make that equal to a monoBehavior.instantiate. I'm going to pass in my prefab, a new vector 3, x, y, z, and then just a new quaternion with no entry because we don't care about rotation for now. This should be about everything we need. So I'm going to go back to the Unity editor, and we're going to go ahead and run this command. Now I'm going to hit play, and I'm going to bring up the console. And you're going to actually notice here that only the quit command is being instantiated, and that's because in my developer console CS file, I have to actually create the command. So let's call command cube.create command in the create commands function in the developer console. And now that I've done that, let's go back to Unity and restart. Now you can see my cube command is running. So let's go ahead and type in cube and then -x equals 12 and then hit enter. You're going to see on the left-hand side a cube clone come up with the x coordinate of 12. So that worked properly. And if I just go ahead and look at my scene view here, you can see the cube just got instantiated. So that's working properly. Now let's go ahead and pass in a couple extra parameters for the y and the z. You can make this whatever you want. I'll throw a -12 here just to make sure the negatives are working. And if I click on this, you'll see it has the correct coordinates as well as it shows up correctly in the scene view. And then one more time, I'll just type in, let's say, cube just by itself, and it should instantiate a cube at the coordinates 0, 0, 0. And it's working as designed. So I know I didn't do any error checking or anything here, but in order to pass in arguments, we just had to make a few small modifications, and now everything inside of Unity is working properly. So that's how you make a basic function with arguments. I hope you found this useful, and we'll see you again in the next video.